Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Pass the Barb. Today is Monday, November 27th, and I am back. I am back from. I was down in Memphis when the guys recorded last, but I am joined by Ryan Pinkalla.
What up? Hope everybody had a super awesome Thanksgiving. Coming back around to Pass the Barb, and just wanted to say one more time here, if you're listening to this right now, please like, subscribe to this podcast, leave a comment, leave a ranking, anything helps us a ton. We love hearing from you guys. If you guys have cool ideas, send them in. But we're growing fast, still growing fast, boys. Unbelievable. But love to hear from some of the fans too, and we'd love to bring some of your stuff on here too. So,
and we are giving away. We have some giveaway items for when we hit 100 rate and subscribes, and we are like really close. So, yeah, if you haven't done it, there's a bunch of you who just like pop in and listen and are like, I don't need to rate and subscribe. False, you do. So
and guess what? We got a lot of crap that needs to go to other people. So if you're trying to get some free stuff, this is your shot.
Yeah, I just moved and I got a garage full of stuff I got to get rid of, according to my girlfriend. So we'll be shipping it out soon. So leave us some ratings. And then also joining us down below from out west, the man of the hour, the man who will get questioned immediately. But we got Will.
Let's just do our introductions. It's good to see you guys too.
Yeah. So, Will, the people are asking because they were asking Wednesday night. Ryan and I were on a live stream for Ice Team. We were chatting. Red Lake, everything ice fishing, you name it. And we, believe it or not, we had people come over to the Ice Team live stream and ask if Will was going to be running the turkey trot in the morning.
I'm honestly shocked because
so we need a statement. Because you did not run it.
No,
he did not,
dude. No, I didn't.
I reminded you.
We all reminded you
out there
on Thursday. Yes, I was hammered with how's the run? Where's your T-shirt? I did forget Wednesday night. Thursday, I certainly didn't because I was reminded. Yeah, I don't really have a good excuse.
You think it's a small podcast you're just doing for fun until you get inundated by people being you suck.
Didn't even try to lie.
The worst part about the whole thing is that it was my idea. I was the one that came up with the punishment. I mean, it was all my idea. So, yeah, I'll have to do something. I will say, my parents live north of Nisswa now, so I don't know if there is a turkey trot in Nisswa. Probably, but yeah, I don't really have a good excuse other than on Wednesday night I hardly had a pulse by the end of it. So,
and that was part of the plan with the turkey
what we were hoping.
So you did the first half. You did.
I did the first half, and I did it good. But yeah, the second half I didn't do it. So. I'll have to run like
it's like double down, I think.
What's twice a 10K, I guess. I don't know. We'll think. Actually, people can just suggest things. This is a good way to drum up some dialogue, since I didn't do it. Now what do I have to do?
Yeah, I think we want to hear from the PTB fans here. Will needs a punishment. It can't be outrageous either. It needs to be something good. What I was thinking, this is just to lead off the thoughts. I think when Will is home for Christmas break, whatever day he is home for Christmas break, that it snows more than 5 inches, he has to run his 5K that day.
That would be would be a pretty. I feel like that's a fair punishment for not doing it.
So you don't even have to like there's no prep for it or anything, or you're like, okay, I gotta do it in the morning. It's just like all of a sudden it snows 5 inches
because it's gonna. Oh, there'll be a day where we'll just get pounded. I mean, it'll happen.
But we want to hear from the fans too.
Sure, we'll
maybe Will's got to do a full guide trip with the plug out. I don't know.
That's a very good one.
I had on a quick.
You only get a Mountain Dew bottle.
Yeah. On a quick side note, this summer I had a guy. We're fishing in my drift boat, and the guy in the back of the boat is fighting a fish, and I'm kind of whatever rowing the boat, and I look back and I see water just rushing into the boat. It's like up to the guy's ankles. I'm like, Tom, what's going on back there? He's like, I don't know. I look back and I go, you kicked the plug out, dude. I'm like, we're taking on water.
We're sinking, bro.
So I'm trying to find I grab the plug, and then he's got his foot over it, and he's still fighting the fish, and all of his focus on that. He could care less if we would have gone down or not. And I'm like, Tom, move your foot, please. He's like, well, I was trying to plug the hole. I was like, okay, good call, but I need to put it back in. That would be horrific. Can you imagine trying to do a full day with no plug, just constantly pumping water out
and knowing that it's out?
Yeah, there's no
bilge do anything.
There's no bilge pump,
and you have to tell your clients just like, oh man, we must have sprung a leak today. We'll be good. Don't worry about it.
We'll be fine.
The whole day.
Normal.
I'll hand them each a little tiny bucket and be like, well, if we're not catching them, it's time to bail. So.
But yeah, no, we want to hear from the PTB faithful. We need to hear what Will has to do because he did not follow through. This has been drumming up for a year.
Yeah. I didn't follow through.
Failure, honestly.
Would you like to apologize to the people, Will?
Yeah, I'd like to apologize to myself. I let myself down more than anything, I mean, didn't keep my word, which is not a good thing. I'm not usually like that. So yeah, sorry to the folks at home, but I'm sure whatever I get stuck with will be much worse than a nice light 5K on the day after day of Thanksgiving. So, it's too bad too, because all I had to do, Adam, right, was just submit my lineup one time and it wouldn't have been me.
That's true.
Precisely.
But you didn't.
Well, in my defense, I was in Alaska. I didn't have much for service, but whatever. It's water under the bridge. We'll figure something out. But yeah, I'd love to hear some ideas. Actually, that would be kind of maybe more fun. So
yeah, we'll throw it out there. I think we'll get some good ones.
Yeah,
that's for everyone.
Yeah.
And then, so what's been going on with me? Had Thanksgiving. Obviously, was back home. Last time you guys recorded, I did listen to the episode. I was down south in Memphis. I was at St. Jude's Children's Hospital for a tour with Fat Cat and Matt Pangrak and Brian Robeson. So that was cool, but it's also hard to say going to a children's hospital is cool or a great experience, kind of weird subject. It was very eye-opening.
Sure.
Very, very unique experience. But other than that, been just moving into the place. And I don't think we've recorded since we started releasing Chronicle episodes, have we?
I think maybe the first one.
I think the first one was out last week.
Yeah, maybe. I think I brought that up last time, but I didn't really get into it at all. So I think that was just a couple days after the first one came out. So
yeah. And I mean, we can chat a little bit of ice fishing for the peeps. I mean, we can tell a little bit of some behind the scenes stories for last year of particularly Red Lake.
Well, I want everyone to give a highlight from their Thanksgiving.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that, and then we'll come back around. Sorry.
Fresh off the turkey day here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I apologize, guys.
We'll be talking ice fishing for the next 6 months.
He's just ready to go here. He's hyped
I'm
up.
A little rusty.
He saw a pond get frozen.
Otherwise,
he's fired up.
Thanksgiving, it was great to see family, catch up with everybody. Honestly, the highlight, and it was kind of depressing today, but I took the boat out of the garage and went and took it to storage, but it was also okay, now my garage is free and I have a bunch of room. So
yeah, that's kind of nice.
Right on.
Yep. But that's about it. It was nice seeing family and friends and
hell yeah.
Huge. So Pink, what about you? What about your Thanksgiving?
We had
by the way, Mav dusted all you guys on that way in of poor Thanksgiving foods. I just had to add that.
Whatever, I don't know what to say.
So it'll be with a good choice of squash, though. I did have squash. I thought it was sweet potatoes.
That's different, dude.
Yeah, well, few beers deep, and I was like, oh, that might be sweet potatoes. And I just took a little bit, and I ate it. I was like, nope, squash, still hate it.
I hate squash. I hate it. Despise it.
It's just not good.
It's probably the dustiest Thanksgiving food out there.
It's disgusting. The texture is gross.
That's why they call it that.
Makes sense.
Squash. All right, Pink, go ahead. Right. You're good.
Yeah, no, Thanksgiving was awesome. Had a whole bunch of family in town. We had a bunch of the Wisconsin relatives up to Minnesota. And so, yeah, we had a full house. I think we had like 12 people staying at our house, which was like.
That is a full house.
It's full, man. We had cots out, the whole thing. But it was fun. No, we made it just an obscene amount of food. Did like probably 3 turkeys worth of either whole or turkey parts. So we were making pretty big clouds. We were running multiple smokers for the majority of the day.
I was gonna say, did you smoke them? Is that how you cook them?
Yeah. How do you prefer to cook your turkey?
I kind of like it lots of ways, but we did 3 different ways. So we had one whole turkey that we did like brined it, smoked it, which turned out awesome. I had a whole bunch of turkey breasts and like turkey legs from wild turkey that I put like a rub on, because it's like there's no skin on it, right? Because they were skinned out or whatever. I put a rub on those and I smoked those. That was awesome. And then I had some other turkey breasts that I made into like kind of like turkey tenders, I guess, and I deep fried them like spicy deep fried. Unreal. Though that was probably the crowd favorite, was the deep fried. Like turkey fingers or whatever.
Makes sense.
No, it was
deep fried in America being the fan favorite.
Who knew?
Who would have thought?
The Pilgrims should have been on that shit, I'll tell you what.
No kidding, man.
But it turned out good. So like I said, we had like I mean, you know how it gets. You get a big group of people together and you just make a stupid amount of food. So it was like that, food coma out, eat again like 3 times throughout the day there. And then watch the Packers. That was, hey, Thanksgiving football, right? And and then Friday. So I think the highlight though, I love to cook. The cooking was awesome. Really beat it down pretty hard. But we did a bunch of brewery tours on Friday.
Oh, nice.
Which I don't normally do, but some of my family from Wisconsin is like super into that. And I was like, all right, because even though I like live here, like I don't like do any of that stuff. It's kind of like being a tourist in your own town, right? So anyway, we went to a bunch of stuff downtown St. Paul and Minneapolis, and hit a bunch of breweries there and got pretty tuned up. It was pretty fun.
Dude, brewery tours are always fun if you got a group. Like if you're with a group going around, I always love those.
Yeah, no, it was a good time. We had, I think like 6 or 8 people we went down there with. So
yeah, that's a good time. How about you, Will? Other than we'll relax on that you didn't run the 5K. But what else? How was your Thanksgiving?
Well, it was really nice to go home. I went back to Brainerd. I hadn't been home since last Christmas, so it was nice to go back and see my parents, see my grandparents, see all my buddies. My favorite night maybe of like the entire year is that like Wednesday before Thanksgiving. When everybody goes out and get to see all your friends and see people that you haven't seen like since like high school, like, whoa, what happened to that dude? But that's always a highlight. That's probably my favorite thing. And me and my buddy,
just make sure you enjoy that time while it lasts, because in the last like 2 or 3 years I've grown, like my age class has grown out of we go all out to the bars and drink together the Wednesday before time.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen anymore. So hold on to that, treasure that, because I'm telling you, it's gonna vanish.
I'm holding on to it tight, and I can tell you, so are all my buddies. But me and my buddy Tate, we do this thing where we call it the MVP of the night. Who gets the MVP? And it's not like amongst our friend group, but like the MVP is just like sort of like a wild card that you didn't really think you were gonna see that night. And so that's always fun. I always enjoy like people watching at like a very busy bar scene like that, where you still know most of them, but then like you see somebody and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen that person since I was like 18. So yeah, it's fun. It was fun to sit down the next day and dish out the MVP awards. But yeah, I think for me, my biggest highlight was it was just nice to be back in Minnesota. Like I said, I haven't been back in almost a year. So nice to be back. No ice, of course, so there was no fishing or anything involved, but that was fine too. It was nice. There's no snow or anything, and it wasn't very cold. So all in all, it was a nice trip back. I just got back to Montana last night, so.
I will rain on your parade. It is really fucking cold here now. So you
just did it cool off?
It is very cold.
How was the airport scene? Because I mean, they were talking it up like this was the biggest travel day of all time history.
We flew into MSP on Wednesday morning. We flew out of Great Falls really early and landed in Minneapolis at probably 9 a.m. And it was pretty busy then in the morning. But when we flew out on Sunday, now granted we didn't fly out until later on Sunday evening. I was expecting it to be super long security lines, just awful, you know. It wasn't bad at all. It was actually a really enjoyable travel experience. So I think maybe I was just on the the right side of it each time, but yeah, it wasn't too bad, man. It was not bad.
I feel like they really teed it up to be a war zone.
That's what I heard too. That it was I mean, I thought it was supposed to be this absolute nightmare, but Minneapolis is really a great airport to fly in and out of, I think. I mean,
from my experience around kind of the country, it's very, very good. It's very easy to get around, find stuff. It doesn't get too congested in areas.
Yeah, I think it's one of the better ones. But yeah, it sure was nice to fly as opposed to drive. I mean, it's a pretty long drive to drive home. So yeah, just nice to be back. Nice to see family and friends and whatnot. So
sweet. That's good. Well, yeah, we'll dive into a little bit of fishing talk, I guess, for those guys who are getting excited about the ice. We had, as people who watch the Crappie Chronicles have seen, we posted a few videos from the end of last season. Heading into this season now, I'm sure you guys will kind of get to hear behind the scenes stories all year. But kind of the biggest one we haven't really dove into yet at Pink was going to Red. That was a very cool.
It was especially sneaky. It was sneaky.
It was sneaky. And especially now looking back on it, now that it's all out and we have been talking about it for 8 months of oh my God, I just want to put this video out. Yeah. It's very cool for it to finally be out and be okay, yeah, we actually did that.
Well, and it's one thing because we were there obviously, but you build it up in your mind because it was sick. It was a really good trip. I mean, we hit it good basically one day, but in your head you're stewing over how it all went down and you're hyping it up. And I feel once you think about it so long, it's if it doesn't hit, you're gonna be God damn it, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just in your head you built it up so high that you're oh, this is gonna be good, and it was, and it turned out awesome. And it was as good as I remember, watching it back, which is cool.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. And I mean, a little behind the scenes for people who weren't there, like Pink said, it all went down on one day. We did go up there for a full weekend, but
we did. Yeah.
Yeah. And
you go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. I'm going to mute Will because he's in the background on his phone right now.
Yeah. Well, because we did. It was supposed to be a weekend trip. We went up there kind of almost on a whim. We just heard that the bite was getting good, honestly. From a couple buddies and they were you guys should maybe come up and try it out. We were that would be pretty sick. And then we ended up getting hooked up West Wind, right?
We went out of West Wind. Yep.
So they were chilling, let us stay up at their cabin. Well, I didn't realize that 0 people stay in cabins there.
Yeah,
during the winter
for sure. Yeah, in the winter, we hit them up, and we're yeah, would you by chance have room in your cabin? And they're you're the only one. We're oh, okay.
Yeah, so we had the whole place to ourselves.
Yeah, we're the only people not sleeping in a ice castle on the ice. And when you think of it in retrospect, you're oh, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense. But also, there's that many people not doing the style of fishing we do.
Well, I mean, yeah, but there's how many thousands of permies are out? I don't even know.
Yeah,
it's gotta be
and
crazy
that was the closing weekend too. So we got there, and it was a closing weekend at Walleye. So the whole time we're up there, there's just a steady stream of trucks,
and it was the highway
driving off the highway. Yeah, it was for sure a highway. It was huge.
Yeah,
but
And luckily we did find, like, we got into some fish that first day, but it was like nothing consistent.
Yes. And we got out there and we get out there, we find a couple and we're like, oh, okay, cool. We're gonna, I think Pink caught a crappie on a Tika Flash, like his first drop, and we're like, oh shit. We're like, here we go. And we look around for like 30 more minutes. And it was dead. Nothing really nothing really happening. And we're like starting to stew with ideas. And I look over on the horizon and like, Will, being on red, like you look to the, the reservation side, you can't see anything. But all I see is just this white fog like coming across. And I look at Pink and I'm like, was it supposed to be windy today? And he's like, I don't think so. I was like, Griff, was it supposed to be windy today? No. We're like,
and I'm gonna be honest, none of us checked anything related to the weather. We were just like, we're here, we're going.
Right, we gotta go out, yeah.
And then we like fish for like 15 more minutes, and all of a sudden it's just like,
and we're playing it cool, like hood up, like back to the wind, like it's fine.
Yeah, like we'll be good. And we go, we're like, dude, fuck this, and it's like, I don't know what, Pink, 12:30. Like it's not late. It is
still the
early.
Morning. It was
okay. It was 11:30.
Before we go to the next thing, we got to talk about the dude that came up to us, because this was an A1 story.
Okay,
developed further.
Yeah, and this we're out there in that wind, and like Pink and I are backs to the wind, like looking at live, like, oh, we're gonna figure these fish out, and probably in the back of both of our brains, we're going, this is so stupid. I hope he tells me we can leave soon, and we're like just waiting for someone to break. Well, and suddenly we're just standing there in these winds. And all of a sudden, I feel like a tap on my shoulder, and I'm like, oh. Like it's just.
And we have like no shack or anything. We're all just out there.
Yeah, like it's us. There's not others. And I like turn around, and there's this like kid looking at us, and he's like, "Are you the guys from the Crappie Chronicles?" And we're like, "Yeah. What's going on?" And we like, snap into it, like say hi, shake some hands, whatever. And still to this day, I felt so bad about it. Kid looks at us and he goes, "Can we get a picture with you?" And once again, it's blowing 30 across red, whiteout blizzard. And we have on all of new clam gear. Like NDA, like we can't put it out.
It was like unreleased stuff.
Unreleased
Bart got to be the tremendous douchebag and tell this kid he wouldn't take a picture with him.
Oh.
So I had to look at him and be like, dude, literally,
like, I'm not taking my coat off.
But then the best part about this is we'll fast forward from here to when we did our meet and greet on November 11th this year. The first kid in that meet and greet walks up to us and goes, "Can I get my picture now?"
It was the kid from Red Lake.
It was the kid from Red.
Did you give him something for free? Did you give him a
t-shirt we did.
Or something? Okay.
We gave him some stuff, and we're like, "Oh my god!"
I just thought it was so perfect.
It was. He was the first guy there. He's like, "Can I
get my picture now?"
He's like, "Remember when you were a huge douchebag? I'm here now."
Yeah, you dicks. Give me one of those suits.
Yeah. But okay, anyway, so anyways, that goes on for like 10 minutes, and then eventually we're like, screw this, we're going in. So we load everything up, drive back, and like Pink said, 11:30 maybe? 11 in the morning? It's right about lunch.
If that, dude.
It's right about lunch.
Yeah.
And we go back to the cabin, peel all our stuff off because now it's just crusted in snow and everything from coming in. And we go in and we go sit at the good old West Wind bar.
Oh, of course.
Because it's like right.
Yeah, it's just right there.
Right.
And we're like, hey, we'll just get a little bit of food, whatever. Order some food, order some beers. All of a sudden the food comes. We eat. Food plates leave. We get more beers. All of a sudden waitress goes, "Hey, I'm leaving from this shift. Can you guys..." And we're like, "Oh, yeah, we'll cash out." And then we cash out, and new waitress comes up. "Do you want another round?" And we're like, "You know what? I would."
Yes, we do.
And hey, it's to the point where we're a couple of beers deep. No big deal. We happen to be sitting right next to the window, which we can see out of and see that it is still dog shit outside.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, this seems like a good spot as any here.
Yeah, I'm warm. I'm cozy. The beers are cold.
And, like Bart said, this was maybe 11:30 noon time, whatever. And I guess I'm not exactly sure how the middle portion played out, but now it's dark. And we're still in the bar.
And I look at Pink and I'm like, hey, dude, I kind of want to get a pizza. Would you like to get some dinner now?
and it's at this point that the second waitress goes, hey, my shift's over. You guys mind cashing out? And we go, no problem. No problem.
Yeah, we did this already today.
3.
We're experts at this. Bring the third one over.
Let's start tab number 3 of the day.
And like, I guess it didn't occur to us at the time that like we were sitting in the bar at the place that was letting us like stay there to like shoot this video. And we were just like in the bar all day.
Just drinking all day.
Drinking. Yeah. And I think we got dinner at some point, and then we got some more drinks. And I guess I don't want to belabor the point too much, but basically we get to bar close. And they're like, we're the last people there, obviously. And they're asking us to like leave or whatever. And now we come to find out that the final waitress, this is like the final boss of West Wind, is the owner's daughter.
That's the final boss right there.
And so of course, instead of just playing it cool, we were like we're all obliterated.
Do you do off sale?
Do you do off sale? She's like, oh, we do, but only till whatever time. And it was like, and we'd been okay. In our defense, we were standing at the cash register for a solid 5 minutes before she came over there. And it was like 2 minutes after the time that she could sell us these beers.
Sure.
And we're like, come on, like you can't sell us these. And she's like, no, absolutely not. And we weren't being like douchebags about it, but we're trying to get these beers.
Yeah. Yeah. At that point, you were probably in the teens for beers consumed. So it's.
Yeah. And so we're kind of going back and forth, like negotiating how we're going to get this 6-pack. And then it finally comes down to her telling us, well, I can sell them to you, but I have to open them. And we're like, well, we got to drive back to our cabin or whatever. And she's like, well, you're not like leaving the premise, are you? And we're like, no. She's like, all right. And she just cracks a 6-pack and hands it to us and is like, to drive back to the fucking cabin.
Just to make it for the 200-yard drive.
Yeah. But she had to open them all. Apparently, that's like a thing. So
that's funny.
So then we make it the 150 yards back. We go to bed. We wake up in the morning, look at each other, and we just go, we really need to catch them today.
Like, this is not a good look, boys. This is not a good look.
Dude, that's hilarious. We
proceed to beat the living shit out of these.
You caught them. Caught them.
And here, like, this is the funny thing. We leave at 9 a.m. It takes us 40 minutes to drive the machines out to where we need to be. Yeah. We look for fish for 2 hours. It's almost noon. We're like, oh no. Like this.
We go back to the bar.
Nothing.
No, we have nothing. And then we just finally come around a different little section. And it's like, oh, there they are. We filmed the whole video in an hour and a half. Look at each other and go, should we go back to the bar? We just go right back. And we go sit down. The waitress who serves us our lunch is the lady we checked out with.
So it all came full circle.
She looks and she's like, how was it today? And we're like, great, episode filmed, crushed them. You guys are going to love it. And we know, like, for a fact, she was looking at us like, this is such a lie.
And then we held on to the episode for like almost a year.
Yeah, they didn't see anything until a year later.
Oh my God.
There are a few things better though than what you guys just described. The full shift at the bar. I mean, you can't do it. You can't do it all the time, but once in a while, it is awesome. I did it on Saturday when I was home, so a couple days ago, and kind of had a similar experience to you guys. So Friday night, we go out to the Pickle in Nisswa. I don't know if you guys have ever been there. Adam, maybe you've been to the Pickle in Nisswa.
I've maybe been into the Pickle once.
It's a great bar. It's a phenomenal bar. My favorite bar in all of the Brainerd Lakes area. And Friday night's a big night in the Pickle. Anyways, fast forward. I wake up on Saturday morning. I'm with a female friend of mine. I said, okay. Let's go get breakfast. I said, I'll take you out to breakfast. So we go get breakfast at Sidetrack, which is another great breakfast spot. And I'm not feeling very good, but we get a couple Bloody Marys. And then I'm starting to feel better. You guys know the feeling when you start to come around a little bit. And so then I get another one. And then she's like, I gotta go. Like, I got family stuff going on. And I said, okay. She's like, do you want me to give you, because I don't have a truck, you know? She's like, do you want me to give you a ride? I'm like, just honestly, I'm just enjoying it. I'm like, just leave me. I said, just leave me here.
Just leave me.
So just leave me. So we have breakfast. So she leaves me there. So then I get on the horn and I rally up some of the troops. And I said, hey, I'm at Sidetrack. And I get a few texts back. Oh, nice. Like, who are you there with? I said, it's just me. I said, someone's got to come here. So then inadvertently, everyone starts trickling in, you know, we're eating the leftover breakfast, you know, and then same thing. It just went on. It turned into sort of an all day event. But it is fun when you get the one waitress has got to cash out, get the next one. I've never had it happen where that's been, what was that, 3 or 4?
We hit the trifecta, dude.
Yeah. And to be there until.
Yeah. It made the day to end it on the owner's daughter, though, was really, that's what
well,
really.
And the best part, too, is trying to get the off sale. I mean, you hadn't had enough. You needed more.
We just wanted one to wash down when we got back in the cabin. You know?
Come on.
One when you go to bed. We just sat down, bullshitted for like 15 minutes. And like the funny thing is because that bar shuts down at like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
We actually went to bed at a very responsible time.
Right.
We went to bed at like 10:30.
Yeah, considering that we were in the bar for 10 hours.
Right. It was. I just love that you just needed the 6-pack. We just needed 6 more, you know?
Well, yeah. Poor, I don't understand how, like, you know, in retrospect, we drank a lot of beers there and various other drinks. But I think back on Logan, just drank cherry Coke the whole time.
Yeah.
Your guts got a kill after 10 hours.
You had to have a gallon of that, dude.
Was he not of age?
Logan just doesn't drink.
I think he was just not drinking.
Yeah.
Good for him. I bet he felt way better than you guys the next day.
That's what I questioned about the cherry Coke, though.
Maybe not. He might have had serious gut rock.
There was one holiday where I was like, you know what? I'm not going to drink this one. And I just drank pop instead. And the next day I woke up and I felt like I was going to die. And it was from all the sugar I drank.
Yeah, it's honestly not like even an even trade, you know? Like,
right.
I'm just going to skip the beers and just go soda. Like, no,
it hurts. But yeah, so that's a little behind the scenes of that one.
So basically you saw everything other than the bar scene. Is really what you got in the video.
That is a fantastic behind the scenes look into the filming of the. I actually just watched that. I just watched that today, you guys. The Red Lake one. Very good. It was fun to watch.
Not even hungover. Nope.
Yeah, you would never tell that that's what happened the whole entirety up to that.
That's because we got to bed so early.
Exactly. That's the key. Go to bed early.
Mix in a couple waters. Mix in a few waters. You know, hey.
A few.
And then we got back, and then we went back, had lunch, and we were back in the cities by, like, I don't know, 10 p.m. Like, it wasn't even that late.
Yeah. It was crazy, honestly. But it was fun, dude. It was a fun trip, honestly. I love those kind of down and back trips where it's like, you're not there. I mean, I do like longer trips, but some of these ones where you're just like, go there, go ham for a day and a half, and then just get out. It's like, I don't know. I feel like when you make it happen, it's way more satisfying on like one of those really short trips.
Yeah, it was a very good time. Very good time. Then we had the day on the ice with the ladies. That was super fun. That was probably the most fish I think we've ever caught in a day.
That was also the most fish we ever kept in a day.
Yeah.
How many did you whack?
Pink, you need to text Will that picture.
Yeah. Well,
we had a group of like 10 to 15 people on the ice.
That does not justify what we did.
And there was a ton of white bass biting.
You guys don't have to say how many you I mean, roughly, how many do you think it was?
You can guess off of the picture. Pinkalla text you.
There's like a 4-second video clip of we had like a jet, like a jet sled.
Yes, yeah.
And it's like probably 3/4 full of fish.
That's a lot of fish.
The full thing. And it's pretty much 50-50 white bass and crappies. And like they weren't like mega giant crappies or anything, but they were like 12s.
They were like 11 to 12-inch eaters.
Yeah.
Nothing bigger than that.
But that was super fun day because it was like we didn't have to move around once we found them. We had a lot of people out there. We have at least 10, you said?
I would say, yeah. I mean, of the people who were in the episode, that's 7, and then we had
Plus
the crew
all the
from relevant behind the scenes. Yeah, it was probably 11 to 15 people, something like that.
Yeah, and we kind of like once we found them, we just hunkered down, and they just kept coming, dude. Like you could just pound them out of one hole over and over and over, and then you could walk away and come back and look at your Vex, and it was just shit stacked, like at any point in time.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
it was very, very, very good. And then ending the well, I mean the last one that just came out, a bunch of people are watching it right now. But that's where what were you gonna say, Will?
No, you can go ahead, Adam, then I'll ask.
Oh, I was just saying, so that one we announced. So for people listening to Pass the Barb, we do have a meetup at St. Paul on Sunday from 11 to 1. And we got a bunch of stuff to give away, and that was announced in that video, as well as our Chronicle Series pinheads. But then we got to film. It was basically the greatest end to an ice season ever for us. 3 episodes, tons of fun, and we ended it with the biggest one we filmed last winter.
All right, boys, I just sent it to you. I'll get this up on Instagram anyway. I just won't tag anybody in it.
Yeah, that would be smart.
But it's I mean, it's like a pretty good harvesty photo. Well, it's a video, but you get the gist of how the day played out based on that. We got a nice sunset there and just a
I'm watching it right now.
And so that is what the Vexlar Company fish fry was made of.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. Actually, it went to a good cause.
It did. Yeah.
That was Good Friday or whatever. They have that every year.
Yeah. It was that and a whole bunch of Winnipeg walleyes.
Yeah. Those are pretty nice. Those are pretty nice crappies in there, actually. I mean, those are good.
They're built. They're built, boys.
Those were the most built fish we caught all year.
Those are good eaters. Oh, okay. I have a question for you guys. So there's 3 episodes out right now, right? So is there a more that you guys already recorded, or are you guys recording more, or what's the?
We you
don't have to say. I don't know if you want to.
No. I'll say. So we have
leak it, boy. Leak it.
Yeah, something we haven't told anyone yet is we have a whole different series we filmed.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, that'll come out 9? Probably. I think
at
it's
least
7.
9. 7.
I think it's 7 videos.
7 to 9.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's 7
or 9.
But yeah, okay. But sure,
7 to 9.
But yeah, so that was filmed already. That'll be really good. Gonna be a lot of what people have asked for in terms of just really in-depth dive into like fishing stuff. So
we're trying to answer some questions.
Yeah, there will be a lot of questions answered.
So there's more stuff coming.
Yeah, my goal is the first one of those videos will be out tomorrow night.
Okay.
Actually,
by the time this comes out, it'll be out. So
yeah.
So, and if it's not, it'll be out Wednesday. So like it's gonna be one of these 2 days. So it'll be out very soon.
But it's like a whole separate series to go with the Crappie Chronicles. It's kind of sweet.
Yeah.
That'll be live when this releases, won't it, Adam?
Probably. Yeah, and then to answer your question, Will, yes, we will be filming more. That is the end of like anything we had filmed from last season.
Okay.
I would say.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we'll be filming a bunch more here soon.
We need some more ice right now.
Yeah, this is true.
We need some more ice, but yeah, I think the last episode kind of previewed what the rest of season 4 will be like. That was something Pink and I were like discussing forever, was trying to figure out, were those videos going to be season 3 or season 4 videos? And I know it probably does not matter in the grand scheme of things, but for someone who's like as detail oriented and nitpicky as I am, that was a very tough decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think it's correct how it is.
Yeah, I think it worked out really good. And yeah, the red video is awesome. We've only had probably 2 or 3 bad comments.
Yeah.
People being pissed.
And like now it's kind of cool. Like we don't really have ice yet. There's ice starting to form around the metro right now, but like we kind of get this sweet like week and a half buffer now because of the St. Paul Ice Show. That's like everyone will be at the show. So it's like, yeah, we're going to be there. We're not going to have to like be fishing. So
that is really nice.
Fingers crossed you get that like that time frame to like build some ice and then maybe you get on somewhere like right away, but we'll see. I don't know. I don't think we're going to like push it like crazy stupid, but like if we can get on, we're going to get on.
Yeah, that'll be nice to not have to be like the mad scramble like Sobe's doing right now. Like
yeah. We've been in Sobe's spot before. I feel for him. He's just trying to catch like 4 perch and a crappie right now to get a video out.
However, it is kind of dope when it goes your way when you do that.
Yes, it is.
When you find just one little thing going on, you're like, oh my God, here we go.
For sure.
So that's sick. But yeah, so
it'll be fun. Be a good time.
No ice out by you though, Will I?
No ice out here. Shit.
Just chasing them trude or what?
Well, I haven't really fished too much lately. I basically hunted most of November. I did fish a little bit, but yeah, then I leave for Idaho this week.
Oh, right on.
So
hey, by the way, I never got to ask you this from when we did our Brandon Polnick show. This will be a little just going back for people who listen to that one. Where do you guide trout in Idaho? Because we were trying to remember to tell Brandon. Are you close to Coeur d'Alene?
South of Coeur d'Alene, and I'm guiding steelhead on the Clearwater River, so around like Lewiston, Idaho. It's like due south of Coeur d'Alene, probably 2.5 hours, I would say.
Yeah, that's what I told him. I was like, I thought he's like 2 hours south. So
yeah, it's a nice area. The fishing, I mean, they've been fishing for him for the last 2 months, 3 months, so. It sounds like it's been okay. I don't think it's going to be as good as it was last year, but I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be fine. So it'll be nice to go. Do something a little different, a little change of pace. So yeah, it's a unique fishery out there. It's cool. The fish are really big. They're like the biggest, on average steelhead, I would say, in the lower 48. So they travel a long ways to get there. They're coming all the way from the ocean to get to. Idaho, which is like 450 miles and 8 dams. So it's pretty impressive when you catch one. You look at this.
That's nuts. Like when you actually think about that, that is crazy.
What kind of shape are they in by the time they make it to there?
Like right now, they're actually in pretty good shape. As the season wears on, like as you get into like March or end of February, there are some that are, really, really dark. But it's amazing, these fish. I mean, you can just tell that they are built to do this, that they have been doing this for the last, I don't know how many years, because they're big, broad shoulders. I mean, they're just like super well put together fish. I mean, to do that kind of travel to me is just insane, to think that this thing's coming from the ocean and is making it to Idaho.
Right.
Yeah, they're cool. I mean, they're impressive, definitely impressive. So
I do like steelhead, though. They're a badass fish.
Yeah, they're probably my favorite. I mean, I think if I had to just pick one, it would be steelhead because they jump and they make big runs and they get pretty big. And the cool thing about steelhead too, a salmon, once it hits the river, it's going to spawn. It's going to die. It will die. There's no doubt about it. A steelhead can spawn and then it can go back out to the ocean and do that whole thing again,
which is absolutely insane.
It's incredible. Now on the Clearwater, not a lot of those fish make it back out there for a second go around just because they have to go 450 miles and over 8 dams to get back to the ocean, but some of them do. So that to me is pretty crazy that they can do that trip like a couple times. It's nuts.
That is just mental to think of.
They're an impressive fish, man. So yeah, I'll be out there December, January into February a little bit. And then I'm working on some stuff. Nothing's like super for sure yet, but pretty close. End of February, I'll be going somewhere else for a little bit. So I'm excited. It should be very cool.
Right on.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, hopefully you have to send us some pics while you're out there.
I will. Yeah. I'm just
socials.
I'm just hoping that the weather is okay. You know, you guys know fishing open water when it's really cold out, it can really suck.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
When your guides are freezing all the time and that sort of thing.
Do you get like a ton of people that want to come out there that time of year then? I just feel like the guiding season would slow down for so many other freshwater fish, like with those, you know what I mean? Like just being cold in the open water and shit.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, people are really, they're into it. And like, this month I don't expect to be super, super busy, but like January last year, I think, me and the guy that I was working for, I think we worked every day in January except for maybe 2 days, and I think he worked every single day. I mean, it's crazy. People are into it, you know, and you got heaters in the boats, which helps. You know, just like a big buddy heater. Yeah, people do it. People tough it out and get after them. So.
I think that's just like a Pacific Northwest thing, though. Like people just want to fish, man, and they want to chase trout and
are most of your people like flying in, or are they driving to there from the Pacific Northwest area? Like, is it a destination deal or more of a local regional?
I would say it's more of kind of a Boise to Coeur d'Alene to Spokane. That kind of circle, I would say, is where you kind of pull most of the clientele from. There are people that travel a little bit farther, but that seems to be kind of because the nice thing for those people is if they hear that the fishing's good, like if like we're having a good week or whatever, and there's a couple seats open, you know, just buzz down and do it. Or there's a weather window, you know, just drive 2 hours and you're there. It's a little harder to like nail the timing if you've got to fly, you know, but it's a fisher I would totally recommend to people from the Midwest, because people from the Midwest would be very good at this style of fishing. I'm not doing hardly any fly fishing when I'm out there. It's all spinning rods mostly. And we're just side drifting. And so basically all that is you have, you know, like your slinky, like your lead. And then off of that, you have like a 5-foot leader, and you're just letting that drift in the current. So it's almost like you're fishing like a jig for walleyes in the river, you know, where it's tapping along, tick, 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 tick. And you get that bite, and it's gummy, kind of like a walleye bite in the river sometimes, where you just feel it kind of grab, you know, it's like a rubber band, and boom, you got a fish on. But yeah, Midwest people would be very good at this style of fishing because it sets up very similar to some of the stuff like the river guys do back home. So I totally recommend it. It's worth doing.
Yeah, I think some people, it's getting more popular, like those addicted fishing guys. I feel like really pump that fishery so much, and like that area as being like, hey, you guys got to come here from.
Yeah, they definitely seem to be on the forefront of the YouTube as far as in the salmon and steelhead world goes.
They're like the guys, right? I mean,
yeah. And, you know, they like any kind of big YouTuber, they get kind of mixed reviews. You know, some people don't like them, some people really like them. I don't know any of those guys, but they put out a lot of videos and they do some cool stuff, I think. So
yeah,
it's a popular deal for sure. So especially out there, you know, that's just what you do is fish salmon and steelhead. So
that's sick. I'm looking forward to hearing how that goes.
Yeah, it'll be good. So,
no, that's a good one. All right. Well, and then I think, the next thing we're going to roll into is what the people want to hear about, Pink.
I guess I feel bad. I was holding out last time. We kind of got things rambling a bit, and we just ran out of time.
That I was gonna say that you guys did a great job in that episode. The only thing I'm ever good for in situations like that is being like, "Hey, we've been doing this for a while, guys. So let's move on."
Well, everybody had to catch up. You know, it's been a while since the boys all got back together, and
it was a very, very, very good pod. It was very good. I couldn't believe the whole rat story and everything was awesome.
Oh,
I'm not even like you guys know, I'm not a huge hunter. But hearing Cole talk about his experiences and everything going on with the whitetail down in, especially since I grew up in the same area as him forever, is just crazy to hear about. But Pink, the people want to hear about what went down in Colorado. So,
okay,
for those of you who are a huge fan of when Pink tells stories for a very long amount of time, buckle in, baby, because here we go.
Yeah.
And if you're new to this, you might, and like you're just ending your drive or whatever you're listening to this on, hit the pause button because you're gonna want to hit
drive
play
somewhere else
all at once. Yeah, or just turn around and go right back.
Get a 6-pack from the off sale and go for a ride.
Crack them, and get driving. We don't advocate for that.
No, we do not advocate for that.
No, but it's up to you.
I'm not gonna tell you what to do.
Yeah. Anyways, all right, Pick. Let's do it.
So anyway, coming off of 2 pretty awesome trips, I'm just gonna talk about one today because I don't want this to be 6 hours long. But Colorado, awesome trip. That's what I'm gonna talk about tonight. And then I did just have a pretty wicked Montana trip that I'd like to talk about at some point too. But all right, so Colorado,
folks. I hope you know he has a fucking notebook right now.
See this? I journaled the whole thing so I didn't forget any of this shit. Look at that. Just for you boys. Anyway, so
are you selling that journal?
Once it's full.
Okay.
Once it's full. It's got, look at this.
Oh, got a little meat season on it. Yeah. I like it. That's cool.
This is it, baby. This is all of it. So, okay. So anyway, I talked about this before when we had Mav on. So Mav was on an elk trip at like the exact same time I was. So I was able to message him a little bit while I was out there, actually. And so anyway, went out to Colorado for second rifle. I've been doing that for a number of years now, but this year was kind of cool. It was just like, just me and my dad basically went out. We drew like a limited entry unit, which is cool. Most of the time we're hunting like either general units or like low draw, whatever. We saved up some points, decided to go after a different unit. Just doing research and stuff. I mean, you can learn a lot online, but we talked to some people that had hunted it before, got a little intel there. And one of our buddies, our friend Danny, lives in Colorado, and he was like, "Hey, I'll come out and hang out with you guys for a couple of days." So the second rifle season in Colorado is pretty long. It's a 9-day season. So he was like, "Hey, I'll come out and hang out for the first couple of days, and then I got to bail and do some stuff." But he wanted to come and glass and see if we could turn up some bulls. And we drove out there 2 days before the season started, and we got out there and it was absolutely beautiful. There hadn't been any snow to speak of. I think there was a little snow right before first rifle season, which is like 10 days prior to this one. So there's that season's short. I think it's 5-day season, and then there's a gap, and then second rifle season's after that. That's kind of how it sets up. And we got out there. It was beautiful. There was no snow. Pretty warm actually. And there was like that first day we got into kind of the area we wanted to camp. We had a general valley we wanted to hunt, like just not like a small like canyon. It was like between 2 mountain ranges, like pretty big area. And we were just like trying to find a camp spot, and we drove around and found a couple spots. We were like, maybe, but we wanted to be where we could glass. We ended up finding a sweet big ass camp spot. We put up a wall tent, just a big canvas tent and the whole deal, base camp in there. The plan was just like to scout for 2 days and not like hike into anywhere. We just wanted to glass and see what we could find. And that first night we set up, and we actually did find some elk way up high, like not much coming out low. We were, just feeling it out. It's not like we were going hiking in the next day. But we wanted to just kind of get a lay of the land, I suppose. Like I said, I'd never set foot in this unit before, just researching on Google Earth and Onyx and stuff. And our buddy Dan showed up like later that afternoon. He brought a side-by-side, which was awesome. Because like, Will, some of those roads out there, like you could drive your truck on, but like it will be missing parts soon. Yeah. And so he had like this super titted out like Can-Am that he brought up there, like a 4-door one, and we were just ripping around like it was no big deal.
That's huge. Yes.
So we ran up some of these little 2-track Forest Service roads, got up high. We were able to glass that first night. We saw some elk, and then just kind of chilled in camp that night. Didn't really have a game plan necessarily. Next morning we woke up, got up before light, drove up to a spot where we felt like we could glass a lot. And dude, like that next morning was sick because it really kind of came alive with with animals. Like we were seeing everything. We saw quite a few elk that morning. We probably saw 75 elk or so, just kind of smaller groups around, like some low in the aspen stuff, some way above tree line. And then we started turning up. There were some moose down in there that were pretty cool. We saw a couple nice bulls in that area. And then we ended up finding a small band of bighorn sheep with some really nice rams in it, which I don't get to see that often. So that was pretty badass. We were watching them in the scopes for a while, and a couple like pretty nice rams, man. Like, you know, couldn't say that I could like score one obviously through a scope. I don't look at them that much, but some pretty near full curl and like a bunch of them. And I was like, this is pretty sweet. And so pretty much we left it at that for the morning, messed around middle of the day, just kind of learning where some of the roads go and stuff. And then the evening glassing session was where things got a little bit interesting. So it got super cold that night and it was really, really windy. And there was not like a lot of activity. However, we found one herd literally at the peak of this mountain across from us. And they were bedded down in the absolute wide open, way above tree line. And pretty much we decided whatever we find tonight, let's say that's our A1 for the morning. Cause you know, next morning's opening day. And now it's getting cold, but it's still not, you know, no snow, anything like that. We found this herd. It probably had about 60 head elk in it. And from at least the distance we were at, we were like, there's a couple of like shooter bulls in there, but it's hard to really tell what they were because they were, you know, 2.5 miles away. And so we go back to camp, get our crap ready, and we're like, okay, game on. In the morning, we're gonna go up. We had gotten a tip that there was an area you could drive up higher to like close some of the elevation without hiking all that distance. And we were guessing it would take us about 2.5 hours from where we could get the truck to be at the spot we wanted to be at first light. And as usual, it took way longer than 2.5 hours because we'd never been up there. Obviously, it's in the dark. It's way steeper than it looked before we ever started walking up there. So we left the truck at, I don't even know what time. It was pretty damn early. And we get up, and it took us about 5 hours basically to get to where we thought it would take us 2. And we got up all the way to that spot. And now it's a couple hours after light, but overnight, so I guess failed to mention this, it did snow like a shit ton overnight from the day before the season into opening morning. So we're hiking up basically
that's pretty typical for you with all your Colorado elk experiences, isn't it?
Second rifle season has been that way for the past like 4 or 5 years, that it's like it always piss hammers snow like sometime during that week. We thought we'd get a couple on, you know, I got like an inReach and everything. We were pulling the weather forecast on that, and it's calling for like a 1/4 inch of rain. We're like, oh, not bad. And it snowed like probably a foot overnight. And it was like, it was pretty wet. It wasn't like powder either. It was like pretty wet, heavy shit, which is not awesome for hiking, obviously. But we get up there, and it, like I said, it's well after light. We assume that those elk had already maybe made it down to the timber, but we're like, screw it. Let's just keep going up just go to where they were at. So we hike all the way up there. We're way above tree line. We're totally gassed because it's taken us so long to get up there. And it's just me and my dad. So we get up there. We find this like one bush where we're kind of out of the wind, and we just sit down and we're like, fuck, this sucks, dude. Like we've been hiking all morning. We get to this spot, and we're about 100 yards from where we wanted to be. And we're just sitting there, just trying to stay out of the wind for a bit. And we were just kind of talking, and we're like, screw it. We might as well peek over. We came all the way up here. I was like, the chance that they're still out there is not high, but we came this far. We might as well go the last 100 yards and look over this little ridge here and see if they're up there. So we start going up there, and we get right to the peak of it. And we spot one cow bedded out in the snow, like above us, just way out in the middle of nothing. And we're like, oh shit. Okay. So we kind of start easing up the top of it, and we can start seeing like more elk stretched out below it. And they were all bedded. Like they were bedded in the snow in the absolute wide open at the top of this mountain. And we were like, shit, like now what? Cause they were about 800 yards away. And so we kind of just backed out and kind of regrouped. And we're like, how are we going to make this happen? And we just figured we'd try to loop below them. So like I said, it's opening morning in Colorado, and we're on literally a herd of elk. And like as far as we can tell, nobody else is on them. So we're like, this is sweet. And so we start kind of moving around. The game plan was we were going to get below
Pink,
them.
You maybe mentioned this, but like you said,
Yeah.
you were on the herd and nobody else. How many other people were in there at the same time you guys were? Do you know, or is there a rough guess? Or
so it's hard to say because there was, at least in the part of the area we were in, this like big valley, there was very few hunters, and in other parts of the unit there was a shit ton. So like I guess up this entire valley there was only. That's good that you reminded me of this, because this is a very good side tangent to go on right now. So there was only one other camp in this entire valley we were in. All these other areas, there was camps everywhere. Once we got to this section, there was nobody because the roads were so shitty. It was like really hard to access. And if you were to get up there, if it did snow, you would be super fucked. Like it was like you really had to work to get up into where these camps would be. So I'm going to put a pin in that because we're getting to a good part here. But the other camp, so the day before the season, we just take the side-by-side as far as we can go up this road, like all the way to the end, because we were like, there was a trail at the end of it we could see on the map that we were just going to try to assess, like, well, how far could we get up, some of these avalanche chutes or whatever. We get all the way to the back there, and we are pretty good ways into the back country. And we're just sitting there glassing, looking around. And then another side-by-side pulls in, like right kind of where we were, which is at the trailhead that's way in there. And this side-by-side pulls up, and it's this old guy driving, which whatever, I don't think anything of it. And an absolute rocket in the shotgun seat. I'm talking missile. Okay. And I'm like, what the fuck are you? And then we're in deep, dude. Like this does not happen. Okay. Like I've hunted in a lot of places, and this is a absolute first for me. Okay. And I'm talking like blonde dime and like wearing Ugg boots. She's got the Louis bag in the side-by-side. Like, I'm like, what is happening right
now? Not what you were expecting to see.
This is what I would expect in Colorado.
She's got the yoga pants on with the Sitka jacket. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh.
And it's in this moment I realize in this situation I have zero game right now. And I'm like, this is not good. So we're like, we're talking to these people, of course. So it's like the three of us standing there bullshitting with this dude, and she's like, whatever, doing her thing. And they're telling us how they're just camping back here. They have a cow tag, Oh yeah, we're just gonna try to find a cow before the storm comes in and all this stuff. And I'm just like mystified, like is what is happening in front of me right now. And so like
your dad just playing dumb, just chatting him up, just whatever.
We're all just like talking to this dude, and he's got some like custom rifle where he's like pulling this out, check this shit out. And everyone's like, oh yeah, this is sick. And we're like talking about all this, everybody's gear, all this bullshit, whatever. And I'm like, fuck, I'm missing. I'm dropping the ball big time here. And so anyway, we end up leaving this whole situation eventually after we're talking to her for a while. And we were like, nobody gets this chick's name, nothing. And I'm like, we fucked up. Like my buddy Dan is there, and he's literally looking at me like, you need to marry this woman immediately. And the only piece of information that we gleaned was that they were from Middleton, Colorado. So it's on the map, boys. I don't know.
So was it like who was the old man? Was that like her dad?
It was her dad. It was her dad.
And
he was taking her up there on a cow hunt or whatever.
Oh,
yeah, you really.
I fucked up so big, dude.
Yeah,
so then,
bad.
the rest of, like I said, we didn't even catch her name other than literally the town that these people live in. And so she was wearing this like Sitka, whatever shit or whatever. So for the rest of the trip, we just called this chick Sitka because we talked about her like every day. Which might be her name. We don't know.
It could be.
But anyway, so that was the excitement before opening day or whatever. So then the next morning we're busting ass up there, and we get in to that spot above tree line. We find the herd bedded, and we're just like, dude, this is the group. Like, what other elk would be here, And we loop around below them, which is typically like a super shitty play on elk because your wind is going to go probably up the mountain as soon as the sun comes up, like high enough with the thermals. But it was gas and wind and it was snowing super hard. And we got to basically the last little bit of cover. Now we're essentially on one side of an avalanche chute, and the herd is bedded across from us about 800 yards. And we were figuring we had to probably get under 200, under 250 to even have a realistic shot, just because of how hard it was snowing. Like, you couldn't actually really see them even through scope. So we're like, we got to close some distance here. There was nothing between us, not like, no trees, nothing. So we're just sitting there trying to feel it out. And we're kind of both just like, we might be fucked here. And then we're saying, we're like, the only way that this could work is if it starts snowing harder. And then it did. And it went to pretty much pure whiteout conditions. And we're above tree line. Like, well, I'm sure you've seen it when it snows hard enough. Like, you don't even know which way is which. Like, it's snowing so hard. And so we had one little like scrubby jack pine down in the middle of the avalanche chute that we're like, if we drop all the way down to that, it's going to be steep as shit going up the other side, but we'll be right below them. And in no universe should this work, but we're like, we got to try it. So we start going and we get about halfway to this little bush or whatever. And like, we're in the absolute wide open snow and we've made it about halfway there and they haven't stood up. They haven't done anything. We're like, this might happen, and we get all the way to the base of it. And now basically once we get to the lowest point of the avalanche chute, the rest of the way we'd be like totally blind. Like, we wouldn't be able to see them until we got like super close. So it was like, we're not going to know if they run away or do whatever. So we start hiking up through there and the snow's getting deeper and deeper. And now it's like, I don't know, probably like mid-calf depth snow. And we're kind of going up through it. And we get to the last little lip before like we kind of knew where they were at. And my dad spotted this cow bedded out there, which is probably the lead cow. Like, and with elk, it's like, if the lead cow picks you off, it's game over. Like, she's like the head hoe. Like, she knows everything. And they're the first ones to kind of be like, oh, there's danger or whatever. So we end up having to essentially belly crawl the last like 100 yards. And I don't know how this is possible, but there was actually one little like juniper thing up on this hillside. And we're like, let's just get to that and just like, hopefully they're close enough to that, So we get up there and still absolutely dumping snow. And we come around kind of the corner of the bush. And the plan was like, let's just peek out and see if we can see any elk at all. And then kind of assess like if there's a bull in there or what the plan is. So we get to the edge of this bush, peek around, and the entire herd is bedded under 200 yards from the bush that we are now behind. Like, all of them in the wide open. So we're glassing around and we knew that there was one big bull potentially one big bull in this herd. Cause when we glassed them the day prior, there was one that we were like, damn, that looks like a big one. So we get up there, throw the glass up, and right away we see about 7 bulls in this herd, like a bunch of raghorns and spikes and stuff. And there's like one 6-point that was all kind of busted apart, one nice 5, and then like the herd bull who was nice and like a nice clean 6, big back end on him. And we were like, okay, game on. And so me and my dad have been, this is crazy, but we've like actually been in this kind of same scenario before where we got in on a herd in a snowstorm. And in that scenario, we shot 2 bulls like at one time. Like, we got in there, we shot one, shot the other one within like 2 seconds. And so we kind of thought like, this would be pretty sick if we doubled up on this, huh? And so I told my dad, I was like, dude, why don't you shoot the herd bull? Because the last time we were in that scenario, I shot the herd bull and I was like, seems right to be like, yo, dude, smash him. So we were kind of trying to debate. Like, I had a really good angle on a different bull, but we couldn't get a shot on the big one. So we were kind of just like, well, why don't we make the first shot be on the herd bull, So there's this bush, I'll say, is maybe 8 feet across. And we've like crawled to the top end of it and then to the bottom end of it to like look. And then we're like, we should go back. So we're going like back and forth behind this goddamn bush, like 4 or 5 times trying to get the right angle. Like, we must look like the biggest idiots in the world. Right. But it was the only thing there. So finally he's like, dude, I can see him. And I was like, all right, get set up on him. He gets his bipod on his rifle. He's like laying down and everything. And he's like, yeah, I'm feeling good. And I was like, okay. I was like, I'm going to try to get below you. I was like, I might as well set up. Like, let's just shoot 2. Fuck it. This would be sweet. And so I kind of lay my gun like on his back, and I just like roll in the snow like behind him, like underneath of him on the slope. And we get set up. So now we got both rifles. We're literally laying down on bipods. I was like, this is gonna go down. And I was just like, you shoot, I'll figure it out from there. But I could see a nice 5x5, like maybe 100 yards away. And I was like, okay, this is gonna be sweet. So I was like, whenever you're ready, let her rip. And he takes a shot, and the concussion from the bullet going, or the rifle shooting, puts out this like mega puff of powder snow. So it's like in front of me now, I can't see anything. Like because we're laying down, so his barrel's only like this high above the snow. So he takes a shot, and I can't see anything. So I literally have to I get up and move out of the side, and I'm like, I have no idea like what happened. He was like, he thought he made a good shot, whatever. I get out, I'm just like looking for any bull now. And the whole herd stands up, and they run like 30 yards and just stop. All of them are just standing there. And I was like,
oh my God,
game on. And so, and I'm just like kneeling now. Like I just take an offhand shot, because it ended up being like 120 yards, but I was just like looking around. I saw a nice bull. I'm like, okay, put it on him, pulled the trigger, and like, I heard the shot, and then I just heard an absolute whack, like super loud, like bullet impact. And I was like, oh, that was good. So I rack another one. The whole herd starts kind of like running up the hill. And now there's one bull, pretty nice bull, hanging back from the herd, like obviously hit, right? And I was like not 100% sure if like, is this the bull that he just shot, or like the one that I just shot? Like I know mine was an absolute hit. Like I heard it hit, like watched it happen. But I was like, whatever, either way, like this is a hit bull. So I'm going to shoot again. So put it on him, let it rip again, another hit. Bull takes like 2 or 3 steps and just crashes down the mountain into the snow. And so now we're like hyped. We're like, we got one down for sure. Maybe we got 2. We don't really know what happened, but it's still dumping snow. So we're like, we got to get out there to see if like, is there, more blood or whatever. So we get out there, and now he's all like unsure of the shot, because we run over there, and the bull that's laying dead right there was not the bull that he shot at. So that was like the one that I shot twice was a totally separate bull. So we're like, we're pumped, because we're like, we got one down, but now we're trying to like verify, like, well, did we have a hit on the other one or whatever? So we follow all the tracks up the hill, and we're way above tree line. So there's like, they can't like go away. Right. And the whole herd's just standing there like 400 yards, just standing there. Like they don't even care anymore. And we glass around, and like, we didn't hit the second bull, basically how it played out. And we spent a bunch of time up there verifying that. And so anyway, the whole herd goes over the top of the mountain into the next drainage. So now we're kind of whatever. It's kind of this like, oh damn, that blows, but like we got a bull. So like super sick.
Yeah.
And so whatever, it was weird for a little bit, because we're kind of feeling that out. But anyway, we get back down to the bull. I'm pumped, and we got him down, and he's in the absolute wide open. And basically this whole trip, I did as good of a half-ass job of filming as you could imagine. And so I have like a lot of really good video at like unopportune moments. But it's going to be sick. I'm going to put a video together about it and everything. But so we get over to the bull, and whatever, we're taking some pictures. It's all good, right? Super, super cool. We're celebrating the whole deal. Really nice 6x6. And I was super pumped that we were like, we got one down out of that, because it was such a bitch getting up there that we're like, man, if we came out of this without one, this is going to suck. And ended up shooting a really nice bull. And then kind of after that, I was just thinking, let's get it cut up like as soon as possible, because this weather is not getting better. So it's just absolutely dumping snow at this point. And start cutting them up. So I start getting them skinned out and everything. But now the wind is blowing probably like 30, 40 mile an hour. And we get the bull, like I'll say 3/4 done. And my dad's like, dude, we got to get out of here, man. This is like, he's kind of getting worried, and it gets dark pretty early. So we were like, well, it'd be nice to do some of this down in like in the light if possible, but we didn't know how realistic that was. So I was like, well, let's get it fully cut up, because like it might end up getting frozen if we leave it up here, because it was supposed to go below 0 that night. And so we get the bull like totally cut up, get all the meat deboned in meat bags, and I just leave like the head like took the head off the carcass, but I just left it right at the carcass and then left all the meat bags in the snow right there. Cause we were so high above tree line. I was like, nothing's going to mess with this. It's probably going to get buried in the snow anyway. So we pretty much each took one big meat bag and all of our gear, and we just started hiking out. And we got out super late, like I was well after dark when we got out. And in the time, from the time we left to the time we got to the truck, it probably snowed another foot. And so I'm thinking like, oh man, like going back up there is going to be just brutal. But I was like, we got to go back. Right. But it was just the two of us. So like we got all the meat in 5 meat bags. So there's 5 meat bags plus the head. We brought 2 meat bags out that night. So there was 3 in the head, which I was like, fuck, if it's just us, that's going to be like, I don't know if we're going to get all that in one go with where this is. Like it was a pretty tough hike. So whatever, our buddy Dan was in camp. And when we got down, he was stoked that we shot one, and we're telling him where it's at and the whole deal. And he was, I guess at points of the day when it had cleared up, he could see us through a spotting scope. So he was kind of watching the whole thing go down, and he was pumped. And then he's like, I'm good for 1 load. And I was like, perfect. He's like, I'll go up 1 time. And I was like, that's all we need. So the next day, so this is essentially day 4, but day 2 of the actual hunt. We decided, you know what, let's not go up there because it was, I mean, we slept in the tent that night and it got down to, it was below 0. I guess I don't know the exact temperature, but like 5-gallon jug of water froze solid in the tent, And so we got up in the morning and we were feeling it pretty good because we kind of bit off a big hike like day 1 of the deal, and which seems like it goes like that every time. Like we find some that are in a good spot and we're like, screw it, we're going. And luckily it worked out. So now we're just down to the 1 tag and we still had 8 days left. So I was like, well, let's just, I don't know, we don't have to like burn ourselves to the ground right away. So basically day 2 was just us going around, just scouting more, trying to find another group of elk to go after or whatever. Cause we pretty much blew that one up. And so I honestly was so like zonked out that day. I was just riding around in the side by side, like comatose, just like, yeah, do whatever, man. Like I'm good.
You're like, I am good.
Yeah, I was just sitting in the back, like riding around, like letting my joints like recover a little bit because I was like, man, we really hit it pretty hard yesterday, huh? And so, which ended up being perfect because that we felt pretty good that the next day after, but we did find some more elk that day. It was super freaking cold, but we did throw the spotting scopes up a little bit and looked into some other areas that we hadn't hunted yet. And we were finding bulls, and we were like, man, I don't think anyone is on these. Like even in the middle of the day, we were finding them just bedded in the wide open out in the aspens and stuff. And it didn't seem like a lot of guys were hiking. Like a lot of guys were road hunting, especially with the weather conditions. They were just driving around or just hanging out in base camp. And we just figured if we got in after them, if we spotted them and went, we'd get a chance. So, day 3 of the hunt, we decided, okay, at first light, all 3 of us are going to just hike up empty in our pack. We'll just take some water and some food and we'll just hike up there. We'll get the rest of that bull and come down. And so we get up in the morning. It was like, I don't know, 15, 20 degrees or so. And we just started hiking like right after it got light. We get all the way up to the top. It took us like I said, about 5 hours, but now the snow was like knee deep plus at the top. So we make it, I mean, 75% of the way in, and then the last 25% is the steepest part, and it is just deep ass snow, and it is now blowing probably sustained 50-mile-an-hour winds at the top of this mountain. So it's like it's not snowing anymore, but the wind is whipping over the peak so hard that it's like a snowstorm at the top.
Yeah.
And like the drifts are like hooking over the top of the mountain kind of deal.
Yeah.
So we get out to the kill site. And I think I posted a picture of this on my Instagram, but when we got out there, the only thing, it was like a totally smooth, fresh snow.
I remember seeing that pic.
And there was just like half of one antler sticking out. Like the rest of the entire bull carcass is fully buried under the snow.
And that's a 6x6. Like it's not small.
Yeah, I mean, and the rack is super wide and it's laying on its side. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just like probably from the third up is the only thing sticking out of the snow. And we were just laughing. We got up there, and of course you're kind of out of it when you hike in there or whatever, and you're just kind of, everything is funny. So you're just like, you get up there and you're looking at this thing and we're all just dying laughing. Like, you got to be shitting me, dude. Like, the whole fucking thing's buried. So we get up to it, whatever. And I filmed kind of a cool clip of like ripping the rack out of the snow and whatever. And then it took us a little bit. We had to dig out because the meat bags were kind of just around it. So we had to dig around in the snow and find those. And then we start loading up the packs. And of course, now everything's just absolutely buried. But the cool thing, I was worried that the meat was going to be like so frozen that it was going to be hard to deal with. But because it got buried under the snow, it insulated it pretty good. So the meat was like super cold, but none of it was actually like frozen, which was awesome. So we were able to load up packs and everything. And so we each took one of these meat bags, which were like pretty heavy, honestly, the way we kind of divvied it up. And then I put the head on, and I hiked for a while, and I was like, dude, I'm fucking not going to be able to bail out of here, at least at the pace we need to go. So we kind of we're like, all right, let's trade around. So I was like, well, I'll take more meat. Like, you guys want to, whatever. So we traded around. I took, I think, like 1.5 meat bags, trade for half meat bags in the head, whatever. You make it work, right? Because nobody wanted to go back up there. It was like, this is a one and done. Like, we are getting everything out right now. And we did. So yeah, we got down, and luckily we got off that super steep high part where the wind was just gassing, and got down into the timber, and pretty much we left the trailhead at light, and we didn't get out to the truck until after dark. So it was an all dayer, and we pretty much sat at the kill site for maybe like 10 minutes just to eat a granola bar before we started coming down. So it was pretty much like, I think, almost 10-hour round trip just hiking straight, without we weren't like stopping or doing anything. So I was pretty well gassed after that, because we'd just done that now twice in 3 days. And I was kind of like, okay, now let's find a herd that's closer to the truck.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm not going to lie, like, it's badass being up there in those places. Because like, when you get up there, you want to like take pictures and video a bunch of stuff, because you're like, man, this place is wild. And like, probably not a ton of, I would say the vast majority of people don't ever hunt like terrain quite like that, or get to those places. So it's like, it's cool when you're there, but then when you bail out, you're like, I don't need to do that again. So anyway, that was sick, because it was pretty much the same spot where we were glassing up these bighorn sheep like 2 days prior, so that was pretty cool. And no reason for elk to be that high either, because this was like, it was between 12 and 13,000 feet. We were flirting with the upper end of that, but I guess I don't exactly have the exact elevation we were at, but yeah, somewhere in there, like 12.5, 12.7, somewhere in there is kind of where we ended up shooting that bull at. And so now there's hella snow everywhere. We bail out that night. We decide the next morning we're sleeping in. We're like, fuck it. We earned that, and so we sleep in, and we decide we're going to get up. We're going to glass in the evening. And then if we found something, if we refound them the following morning, we were going to go in. That was kind of the game plan. So that day we just piddled around camp, whatever, dealt with some meat, got that put away. And that evening we're like, screw it. Let's just random spot. Let's just drive up this other road. We can glass 4 miles in this other direction that we haven't been really looking at all. So we get up in there, throw the scopes up. We're glassing for 2 minutes. And I'm like, boom, got a bull. For sure a bull. And I pull out my Onyx, and I'm like, because this other way we're looking, there's a lot more private land. Like, the section we're in is all like national forest. You can go anywhere you want. It's all public as far as you want to go. This other area, it's like there's some smaller chunks of private mixed in, and like the elk seem to know where that shit is pretty good. And find a bull right away on public. And we're trying to kind of gauge whether he's big or not. Then we start turning up more and more elk, and we're like, holy shit, there's like a bunch of them. Well, we end up seeing one bull that both of us are thinking, man, he looks pretty damn big even from this far away. And he was in a really good spot. It was basically like a super sheer canyon wall on one side. And then it like
was an aspen knob surrounded by 3 sides of like dark timber, super steep. And we watched him come out of that. And we're like, man, if he comes out of there or goes back in, one of the two in the morning, like it's a worthwhile play because we could pin that on the map. Like we could actually hike to this place. And so that night we kind of just watched. We saw probably 50 elk that night and a couple of bulls that were in really good spot. But the interesting thing now is that all the places we were seeing elk prior to that were like vacant of animals, and all of the elk are now moving low with like the amount of snow. It literally started pushing them down. Like we're watching elk leaving the basin we're in. We're like, this is not good. Like this is where we're hunting. And like, I'm watching like herds of elk leaving like hundreds. And you know, we're seeing some huge bulls, but now they're on these like lower private ranches that you cannot hunt on. And we're like, shit, this is really bad. But luckily they were coming down out of the high country. So we're like, well, we don't have to go back up there. Like that's really
that's the silver lining. Yeah.
Yeah. But so yeah, like that night we turn up all these elk like in a place where we could go, but now right across from our camp on this private land that's kind of just across from where we had our base camp set up, there's a herd of probably like 200 within like 200 yards of our tent. And they had pretty much emptied out of this entire upper basin that we're hunting. We're like, holy shit. Like I didn't realize there were even that many animals in there, you know, and now they're all grouped up right here. And so that was cool to watch. Like it's still sweet to be like out in Colorado and like watching elk. Right. So, and we had a bull in camp, so we're pretty hyped about that. So we go to bed that night and we're like, I don't know. Once you get one down, it's like you kind of like start getting a little cocky where you're like, all right, like we know our next move, you know, right. Kind of shit like that. And so we're like, okay, if like that bull comes out in that spot in the morning, like, oh, we're gonna like drop a fucking pin and we're just gonna walk in there and shoot him. Like it's gonna be so sick.
Whack him.
Like we're like, no one else even glassing this shit. Like it's gonna be so easy. And like, and so we get up in the morning and we're like frothing to get up there to glass, you know. Drive up to this spot and get the scopes out. It's freezing cold. We're like, come on, baby, let's go. And like nothing, 0 elk come out. We're like, what the fuck? And finally the sun gets up and then boom, all of a sudden we see an elk in the like exact spot we were looking the day before. And we're trying to figure out like if it's a bull or not. And we're like, okay, it's a bull. It's a bull. We're like, yeah, all right. He's in the same little like spot there. And we're like, wow, hopefully he goes to bed in there because this would be cool because we felt like we could get in there in the evening and maybe get him. And then a second bull comes out like 50 yards from him and they're like walking across this face together and they're both like nice bulls. And we're like, fuck, this is going to go down. So we're like fingers crossed, you know, like you're like watching them through the spotting scope and you're trying to like will them to do something. You're like, go down, go in there. Going by that tree. And then like it's like it walks like 2 steps. You're like, oh yeah, he's gonna do it. So anyway, long story short, these two bulls end up going into the timber like exactly where, like if you could have picked a spot, like if you were like they need to go to bed right here, that's exactly where they walked. And we're like, unbelievable. So then we're thinking, okay, we basically put them to bed and we figure we could hike in there in the afternoon. The wind was going to be good for that spot. And we're like, okay, that's plan A. So now we're like, let's try to turn something else up. And now since everything's covered in snow, it's pretty easy to see elk. And we start glassing kind of up the slope from where these two were. Next thing you know, we pick up a herd of about 200 bedded in the aspens in the absolute wide open in the snow. It's like in an old burn and they're just all laying around. And we're like, no way. Like, what are the odds of that? And it didn't look that hard to hike into. So we're thinking, okay, well, how about we try that first? Cause that's a lot of elk. And if we totally blow that, we got this other, you know, these other 2 to go after, which it was just crazy that like this place was just so loaded with elk. It was kind of one of those ones. It's like the hunt you want where you're just like, okay, you can set up, you can glass, you can find stuff to go after and like make plays instead of just like banging your head against the wall trying to find an elk. And so we said, you know, we watched them for a while and we felt pretty good about it and they hadn't moved and we're like, they're going to stay there all day, right in that spot. So we said, let's bail back to camp, get our stuff ready and go after them. So we go back to camp, we make like this big breakfast, and we're like all hyped up, like, oh, we're gonna go in there and like smash this big bull, and it's gonna be this whole thing. And we're in our campsite, and we're thinking like, dude, we might actually be able to see this big herd from our campsite. So we pull the scopes out and we set up right there. We're literally standing at the tent and we're looking at this herd of 200. And I mean, they're a couple miles away, but like we can see them. So we're like, we verified that they were still in the same spot. And we're like, all right, let's do it. So the spot you actually had to like drive. So you could drive kind of around the back of the little peak they were on, and then you'd have to hike in. So we make that drive. And at this point we had seen basically 0 other hunters like while we were hunting. Like we, you know, when you're spotting, scoping around, you see people because they're wearing orange, right? But we were like, okay, if we can get in there and there's no other people, we got a really good chance at this because the wind was really good. And there was one other truck parked in this big, basically valley area where we ended up parking the truck. And we're like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like if they parked right here, they'd already be on these animals, you know, probably this morning sometime. Because it's like middle of the afternoon now. And we get up there and we start hiking in. We go over one ridge, go over the next ridge, and all of a sudden we can see elk like on the ridge across from us. We're like, holy shit, they're like right here. And we throw the binos up and we're looking at them all. And we're kind of like, okay, let's just find a bull. And there's like no bulls. And we're like, well, that's weird. And then we're like, well, maybe there's some below them in this drainage. So we kind of back down the slope and start going around. And then when we come around the corner, there's 0 elk. Like they're all gone. We're like, what the fuck? There's no way they winded us. There's no way like, we were very hidden still. I was like, that's weird. So we kind of ease up to the lip and we looked kind of down the ridge, and there's 2 dudes sitting on the, like totally exposed on the like bald top of this little hill, just like sitting there. And we were like, oh shit, like they definitely busted these guys, you know? And we're thinking like, well, they're just sitting there, so we might as well just like make our play. Like they haven't, and we kind of, this group of elk was maybe like 20. We're after this group of 200 we saw up here. So we're like, these can't be the same ones. So we literally just took off. We're like, we just left those guys where they were. I don't know. But they weren't making a play or anything, because we kind of waited for a little bit, figuring, oh, if they're on them already, we'll just wait. But they just sat there, so we just said, screw it, let's go. And we started going up the mountain, figuring if they're behind us, they're not going to probably catch up to us. So we started hiking up, and we got back on this little group of about 20. And this was like a scenario that I have not had play out for me before. So now there's like 20 elk in the aspens, and like aspen is not, it's very wide open. Like you can see super far and like burned aspen, you know what I mean? And these elk are only maybe like 80 yards away, and they can see us clear as day, but they don't have our wind at all. And they would not run away. They would not leave. Like we're trying to get, the goal was, look, we need to get around this group of 20 without busting them into this big group and like blowing everything up. Right. And so we're kind of just like flanking this herd as we're like going through the timber, and they're like looking at us and whatever, but they won't leave. It was like the weirdest shit in the world. We're like hiking up, keep hiking right into them, and they're just meow, meow, cow calling and shit, like going. And we're like, for the love of God, stop. Like we're like trying to cut the herd off to keep them from going into the basin where there's 200 of them. And they just wouldn't do it. And so they're literally just like walking with us at like 80 to 100 yards. All these elk just right here. Like, what the fuck is this? And so the whole time we're just like, we might as well look and see if there's a bull we're shooting in there, because like they're right here. And so we're like looking, and there was one like 3x4 small like raghorn bull, which in Colorado they just have to have 4 points on one side to be a legal bull, which normally, like, I would say we would have shot that bull in like pretty much any other scenario. But we had 2 like slam dunk plays. Plus we were in like an area where there was like a lot of nicer bulls too, like just like better, you know, whatever. So we're kind of like, okay, well, I think we can do better than that. So we just kept walking. And eventually these elk kind of go over. There's a small ridge in front of us. They make it over that. And we're like, okay, now we're kind of like, nothing's looking at us currently. And we felt like we were only like one ridge away from like the megawad. And so we kind of just ease up to the top of this thing. And as we're approaching like the crest of this hill, you could just hear elk, like cow chirping and all this going on. And we're like, oh God, this is going to be it. And we came over behind this little pine tree, and there is, I shit you not, 200 elk, anywhere from 60 yards to 200 yards, just piss loaded in everywhere you look, there's elk. And we're just hiding behind this little tree, and we're both just like laughing. like, is this even real life, you know? And so now it's kind of like medium panic mode, because we're like, okay, let's find a bull before like the wind switches or something weird happens and this whole thing implodes. And we're glassing around, and I spot like one decent bull, and I didn't know like what my dad was like going to shoot. You know, I was like, oh, there's a nice 5x5 right there. And he was facing straight away. And I think initially he was like, no. And then he kind of turned sideways, and he was like, oh, he's not bad. So he's kind of getting set up that way. Like he's going to shoot that bull, but we're kind of constantly looking around, and there was a bunch of like raghorns and stuff. And then basically across from us on the opposite face of this little valley, this nice 6x6 comes walking out, and he's like, my dad just gets hyped. He's like, yup, game on, you know, and he's trying to get all set up, and he didn't really have a good rest. And he's trying to like rest on this tree and do all this. And I'm like, it was probably like a 300-yard shot. And I was like, dude, just take your time. Like we got all day here, tons of, you know, like let's just make it count kind of thing. And he kind of got nestled down in some rocks, and he was feeling pretty good. And he's like, all right, I'm going to take a shot. And I was like, okay. So I'm on him with the binos, you know, and he takes this shot, and I'm thinking like, oh my God, these elk are just going to like stampede out of here when he shoots, you know? And he's like, yep, I'm feeling pretty good. Okay. Yep. And, the shot goes off, and I'm like, trying to, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm going to stay on the bull, 'cause it's probably going to be an absolute war zone of elk. He takes the shot, and like, nothing fucking happens. All these elk just kind of like look around like, whatever. And I was like, you gotta be shitting me. like this is like, we're in the petting zoo right now. And, and so he takes the shot, and the bull kind of just hunches up and is just standing there. So I'm like, rack another one. 'Cause I didn't know what happened even. I mean, I didn't like see the bullet impact, but there was definitely like a reaction. So he racks another one, gets set up again, takes a second shot. And like all the elk now start moving, and they all like group up right on the ridgeline across from us at 300 yards. And now I don't see the bull that he shot at anymore, but I'm seeing this really big 6x6 standing straight across from us right on the skyline. And I'm like looking at him, and I'm like, he doesn't look hit, but he's like a really nice bull. And I'm like, I don't know, is that the one you shot at? And he's like, no, that's not the one. And I was like, okay. So we're just kind of like not sure what totally happened. And he's like, dude, I know I got him on that first shot. And so we're just sitting there watching, 'cause I'm like, well, I'm not sure what to do. Like there's literally 199 elk now standing on this fucking ridge line here. And we're just standing behind this tree. So we're just like, well, let's just kind of watch, I guess, you know? And they stood there for like a super long time. We're like, all right, well, we can't just sit here forever. Like we're already high-fiving and celebrating, 'cause he's like, dude, we got him. And I was like, okay. And, because he apparently, what I didn't see, he saw it like go down on the second shot. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we start hiking over there, and like the elk are just still standing. I tell you, every moment of this was like, what the fuck? Because like they wouldn't go away. So now we're hiking. We get to like 100 yards from where the elk went down, and now the herd kind of like goes over the hill. Okay, we're easing up. We get to like 75 yards, and it's been probably 10 minutes since the shot now. We get to like 75 yards, and the bull stands up, right? Oh. And we're like, oh shit, this is a problem. But he's kind of like, it must have been, at least maybe the second shot must have been kind of like high, like some sort of spine hit or something, because he was up just on like his front legs, you know? And so whatever, he ends up putting a follow-up shot on him, puts him down right there. And it was like kind of an intense moment though, because you're like hiking up and you're at 75 yards and this bull stands up and you're like, what the fuck? So anyway, he puts one more in it. It's done. We get up there, bull's down, high five, and celebrate the whole thing. You know, kind of an adrenaline dump at that point, because we just got our second bull down. And I'm gonna be honest, like as of this point, we hunted basically opening morning, shot one, whatever, after around for a couple days scouting or whatever, made a game plan, went in, hunted for 2 hours, shot another one. So we've maybe hunted 6 hours this entire trip at this point on like day 4. And so we get up to it. He was pumped. Like I could tell, because after he missed that bull on the first day, I think he was like pretty bummed, which I get, but like, I don't know. It was just like, I was really pumped that like we had him down and we like had our hands on him. We're like, okay, we got this one. And it was in such a dope spot. Like, we actually had a bar service where this was at. So I was actually able to like FaceTime some people there. So that was pretty sick. I got Sobe on FaceTime when we were at the bull, and he was sitting in a tree stand that night.
Yeah.
And I have him on FaceTime. I'm like, check this shit out. And I like turn it around. And we got this bull laying there. And that was pretty sweet. And it was like a beautiful day. Like the sun was out. There was like no clouds. So we had like the sun on the snow. It was awesome. Like the pictures are unreal. And that was like at, I'll say maybe 2 PM. So we spent a few hours cutting him up, and we got all the meat hung in a tree. And we came out fairly heavy that night because we had like no gear with us because it was pretty easy hike in. So we came out and we were so adrenaline hyped up, it's like you're just cruising out, no big deal. And we get about halfway to the truck, and I'm telling you, dude, like I'll never forget this whole thing. So we're coming down. It's just getting dark. Like sun is definitely set, but it's not like pitch black out yet. And we're coming through like a whole bunch of really thick brush or whatever, coming out into this opening. And you can, like, I can see one elk on top of this little knob, like maybe 50 yards away. Just like this cow standing there, right? And she's just looking at us. And we're like coming straight towards it. And in the dark, I'm just like, just go away. Like after how these elk have been acting all day, I'm just like, just leave. Like I just, and so then she starts cow chirping, right? And not like, Will, like, that bark they make, like when you're busted, like I was just
guttural noise. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like some prehistoric shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, just do that and run away. Like, let's just make this easy for everybody,
Yeah.
So we're like coming through this thing, and starts cow chirping, and I'm like, oh, maybe it's just one. Now there's like more. Like I can hear them like in the like down the hill from us. Our wind is dumping downhill, absolutely dumping, and these elk are just down there, and they're like all over in the wood. Like we're walking right back through this whole herd of goddamn elk, packing the bull out right now, and they're just like. They literally would not leave this area, dude. It was the craziest shit in the world. And so we ended up not even obviously having to make a play on those 2 bulls we put to bed down in that canyon lower, because we ended up shooting one. But it was crazy because it was probably the one day of elk. It was probably the craziest day of elk hunting I've ever had, just in terms of how many we got into, and like experiencing them like not being like afraid. Like it was weird, man. But the whole thing where it was like we got on this big herd, and it was just kind of like, oh, if this doesn't work out, that's fine, because like we gotta really like pretty much slam dunk play later anyway. Like it was just like this. Oh, on the way there, we might as well try these 200.
Yeah, to see. Yeah,
it was just super fucked. Like just everything about it just didn't seem like real life. So anyway, so we pack all the way out to the truck, and we hit that, and like all of our stuff was dead by then. Like phones were dead, everything was dead. So we're kind of getting down. Where we parked the truck was on this 2-track in the middle of this giant sage flat. So it was like the mountain comes down to a sage flat with no trees or anything, and the 2-track is just way the fuck out in the middle of it somewhere. So we weren't exactly sure like where the truck was at even. So we had like packs on. We got like just our headlamps or whatever, and we kind of hit like the sage flat. We're kind of like, should we go left or right? And luckily we ended up picking the right direction. We ended up finding the truck without too much frustration, but we get out to that, and it was kind of like, party was on kind of thing. And we knew we were like, oh, we'll just come in tomorrow, like midday, and grab the other load of meat. 'Cause we only had 2 meat bags left hanging up there. And, because I think we had the head out that night. I think we came out mega heavy. We brought like three bags of meat and the head that night. And whatever, we went back to camp. We were eating freaking elk meat and hung out till 2 a.m. probably, and slept in a little bit, went up, grabbed the rest of it, came out, and then we just had an absolute fucking council fire that night, drinking heavily drinking whiskey. We had some stogies that night and just freaking big ass bonfire with a couple bull racks next to it. We were just living the dream, you know?
That's awesome. And that was what, day 4 or 5? I guess 5.
So that would have been day 5 of the hunt. Yeah.
Day 5.
Yeah. So that was day 7 of the trip.
Sure. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So it was crazy, man. Like getting 2 down. Like we've only done that one other time before. And that was when we shot 2 at one time. And that was like the third day, third day of the trip or whatever. But like, yeah. So, I mean, it was a lot of hiking, a lot of packing meat, you know, and it just, I don't know, just some serious shit burned into my memory from that I'm like, I didn't even know some of that stuff like would happen, you know? And I filmed a lot of it. So that was pretty cool. So I do have like a lot of stuff. I'm hoping to like put that together because I captured quite a bit of stuff. That was pretty cool. Yeah. And some other cool little like tidbits, I guess, from that. We ran into a guy up there. I feel like, Will, maybe you can relate to this, but like, I would say the further you go into like a remote area or at least into the backcountry, like when you run into somebody, they're generally like pretty awesome people. Like, I don't know, like when you meet somebody that's willing to go back and do the same type of thing, they're usually like pretty chill and like, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think like you said, it seems like the farther you go, when you're not expecting to see somebody, but then you see someone, you're like, oh fuck, you know. But usually they're pretty cool guys. I haven't had very many negative experiences out here, honestly, like really at all. You know, and there's lots and lots of hunters out here, lots of out of state guys and in-state guys, but yeah, I haven't really had. If you talk to them, I think the negative experiences are when you, whatever, you know. Yeah. But yeah, you meet some cool cats out there, you know, and you never meet them anywhere else but there.
Yeah. So other than the Sitka chick, we end up running into this dude up there. The one night we're sitting there glassing. It seems like that's when you meet a lot of people and you're like sitting there spotting, scope out, like truck rolls by or whatever. Dude pulls up, wants to chat for a little bit, and whatever. He guides in that unit or whatever, and so we get to talking, and our buddy Dan, who lives in Colorado, like he's done a lifetime of elk hunting. Like the dude is just a wealth of information, I'll say, and he knows like a lot of people in that world. So of course he ends up chatting up this guy, and it's like, oh, this dude that we just met, his best friend is our buddy's like old neighbor or some shit. Like, just what are the odds kind of thing, right? Well, he was this dude was like primarily guiding for bighorn sheep is kind of his gig, like all over the state, but like also in this unit. So we get to talking, and he had a couple guys that they were outfitting for the elk season, some old guys that he had in camp that he's like, yeah, we're pretty much just road hunting because they can't hike or whatever. But he's like, we're working with the group of guys that has the Colorado governor's tag, the moose tag, the governor's tag in Colorado. So they were scouting this particular unit for that as well. So that was pretty cool to kind of chat them up, and they had a lot of intel on kind of some of these big ass moose that they've been seeing. So the way a governor's tag, Bart, so basically there's some states out west that they have what's called a governor's tag. It's usually like either an auction tag or like something that goes for just a ungodly amount of money. Like some of these tags go for like $300,000-$400,000 just the tag.
Yeah, like quick. Did you see the mule deer that Jimmy John shot on Antelope Island?
Antelope, unreal, dude.
So that you bought that tag, that was $500,000.
Yeah. And so,
but anyways, fun.
Yeah, but these governor's tags are like kind of they either auction them or sell them for, like, all the money goes towards like conservation of like game animals and stuff.
Yeah, it goes to fishing game.
It's like a fundraiser, but it's also like the guys that get them. It's kind of like a dick swinging competition to be like, who's got the most money and can buy this tag this year kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So this was the last active moose tag in Colorado. So like all of the other tags either been filled or like the seasons have ended. So this was the only moose hunt still going in Colorado. And it allows you to hunt the entire year, any season, with any weapon in any unit of the entire state. So basically the way it works is, you know, the guy that's going to foot the bill for this tag is going to pay a whole bunch of guides to put all of his best dudes out there to go look for these big moose. And pretty much they find when they want to get, and then they pretty much live on that moose, and then they go get him. So that was kind of the thing. So we were like, oh, that'd be sick if we like found some big moose. Cause we were like, the dude's like, well, if you guys see any giants, like, you know, he gave like, here's my number kind of thing. Right.
Yeah.
And we did end up seeing some nice bulls. They were not like something you would want to shoot with the governor's tag.
Yeah. Not a governor's tag.
No, but it's cool seeing, cause in Colorado they have Shiras moose, which is kind of I don't know. It's not like a Yukon. They're not as big of a like
they're
rack size.
Yeah, they're the smallest of the three, the Yukon Canadian and the sure.
But badass animals, like to see them living on the mountain is pretty cool. So I did get some cool like phone scope of some cool bulls out there.
That's cool. Yeah.
And most of it, like I've seen a decent number of moose in Colorado, but not they've all been like around like creeks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we put some glass on a few that were way up the mountain. I'm talking like pretty serious elevation between where they are and any kind of perched water of any kind. So I was like, that was the first time I've ever seen like any sizable moose like up the mountain pretty high. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, so I mean, it pretty much went from 0 to 100 since we got one the first day. And just ended up being an absolute death march of a trip though. Just like if you weren't going after one, you were packing meat, which is always a cool problem to have. But
yeah.
I couldn't have gone down any better. So we ended up 2 super nice bulls. We were the absolute sagging wagon driving home with all that. We had two bulls in the coolers. We had the racks in the back. Like the freaking truck was suspension was just, we were awesome. Slammed. And that was pretty cool. But yeah, it worked out super good. And I did the Euro and everything. I'll show you guys. I know I showed the boys last week, but it was after we stopped recording because we were talking bone zone.
Yeah, I want to see this.
But here we go.
Oh, sick.
Oh yeah, that turned out good, dude. That looks great.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
But
where are you gonna put it, Ryan?
But anyway. Yeah, so he's straight 6, pretty cool. He's kind of weak. He's got nice rows. He's got a kind of a weak back end on him, but he's got awesome fronts.
Where are you going to put him, Ryan? Where are you going to display him?
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know because I just shot a nice buck too that I'm working on a Euro of that.
I know you're running out of wall space.
Yeah, I don't have wall space either, so that's probably
Ryan has to get a house.
I got a lot of taxidermy, I got a lot of shit that needs to go somewhere in a big hurry. So if anybody's selling a super baller house and he's looking to lose money on it, I'm your guy.
Looking to do a donation kind of thing.
But we'll get.
It's got to be within an hour of the city of Chanhassen.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, it was super awesome trip, dude. And like I said, cool doing it with my dad too. And
yeah, I think that's the coolest part that you guys both got one,
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's sick.
Well, and that's the thing. It was like going into it, you're always like, dude, we're getting 2. This is going to be sick. We're for sure getting 2, and then you never know how it's going to play out. But when you get one opening day, you're like, we're getting 2, dude.
Yeah.
Like we got the rest of the week, like things are going our way. So
pressure's off a little bit.
It doesn't happen that way a lot, but it was cool to put a game plan together. And I don't know, it's one of them things you execute and it freaking goes down and you're like, I don't know. You feel like you did something right, but a lot of it's got to be luck at some point. Because I was like, holy shit, the way that all worked out and the stars aligned, especially that first one. There's any other circumstances, there's no way we even get within rifle range of that whole herd. And we literally got to 100 yards, and they had no idea we were even there. It's just stupid. Like, if you were one guy by yourself, you could have just sat there and been like, "Which bull would you like, sir?"
Yeah,
yeah,
it's just insane.
That's nuts.
Yeah, but epic trip. And like I said, I think the video does it justice. Like, it's hard to just even describe how like brutal the conditions were, especially that first day. So I'm glad I recorded a lot of stuff because you can just see how just terrible it was out.
Yeah.
And and the pictures are cool. If you haven't seen I posted a bunch of pictures of both bulls on Instagram, and that one in the blizzard is just unreal. Like such a cool photo. And it's like, I'll remember that for a long time, and stoked that it all worked out. But yeah, so came out super heavy from that, and got 500 some pounds of meat out of that deal. So that was cool. And then, yeah, so like I said, I went to Montana too. I'm not going to get into that because that's a whole nother story, but ended up getting a bunch of deer there, and I have zero. I probably couldn't even put a popsicle in my freezer right now if I wanted to.
Yeah, I was gonna say you've had an ultra successful hunting season.
Yeah,
it was good.
It was
It was really good. And yeah, like so we finished, so we did all we do all the butchering ourselves. Like we don't take our stuff to like a processor or anything. Like I know a lot of people do, but I don't know. We just kind of do our own thing. I got pretty much all the equipment to do that. And so we processed 2 elk. Took us I think we did it in 2 days, maybe 2 days at home. We, got everything cut and packaged and everything, and got all the meat ground and all that stuff. And then we did the deer this week. So we just got back. A little preview. So we got back from Montana on Wednesday morning at 1 a.m. And I went to work on Wednesday, and I came home from work, and all of our family started showing up, and I started getting like all the food stuff ready for Thanksgiving. And so luckily it was super cold. So we basically left the coolers of meat open in the back of the truck till yesterday. And we butchered all the meat yesterday and got it all packaged and everything. So
nice.
Yeah. Running on fumes, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got pretty much like 2 freezers absolutely maxed out with red meat right now.
Well, if you need to get rid of any, I've told you I will gladly take some.
Yeah. Yeah, we can work something out, I think.
More than likely.
But anyway, it's a good thing there's no ice, Ryan. What would you be doing if you're whacking and stacking fish right now? Fuck.
Dude, I couldn't. I'd be like Captain. I'd be like, you got to release everything, bro.
You'd be seeing our
we'd be the biggest conservation effort in history, dude.
I think the first however many episodes this year, film and cooking, are probably going to be red meat episodes just because we have nowhere to put fish.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you got a freezer, don't you, Bart?
Yeah, I suppose we could get some here.
Yeah. So
we have to come all the way up here to clean them's a problem.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, across
we'll figure it out
when you get there. Yeah.
But it's like, it's kind of it's like cool because that's like kind of what you hope for going into the fall, right? Is that you're successful and like you end up with all this meat, and then you got, kind of like unlimited amount to just like play around with. So
right.
Like I'm looking forward. Like I'm gonna make a ton of different kinds of sausage and stuff this year, so it should be sweet. But like, yeah, the initial like getting it all in there. Once you start using it, like you start eating it down, right? But like filling up the freezers initially is just kind of this like, oh shit, like is this all gonna fit? And then like last night I'm out there with like, I have like big lugs of like, you put all the packages in there and I carry that out there, and I'm like okay, this has got and you're like Jenga and everything together to make it all fit, and then you're like taking out like, okay, well that let's try that. This put in this freezer and that will fit in the door a little bit here. So yeah, it's a whole thing, but
that's awesome.
Pretty fortunate to have the success that we had, so I'm pretty pumped about it, and I'm sure I'll be able to share it with a ton of people, and it'll be all good. So
yeah, I'm pumped. I'm pumped for you. I'm pumped to see all the video and everything come out once I get you. I have the laptop you've been asking for sitting right next to me.
Let me just tell people this too. So here's the situation.
I don't have the charger. I could try to fire it up live on the pod. Should I?
Yeah, let's do it. This is like
I do not think it'll start.
This is like a test drive, right? So here's the situation. So I did a couple of really awesome trips this year, and I filmed a lot of stuff or have put a lot of footage on my iPhone. Okay. Which currently the memory is so full that it doesn't even let me delete anything.
Need a charger.
And I have the laptop that I have, can't get the things off, put it on here. And so I'm trying to get Bart's laptop, his old one, so I can at least, because it's a MacBook, that I can at least dump the shit off at least enough that I can like remove things from my phone. So I have 150 gigs of awesome footage that is pretty much hostage on an iPhone right now.
Yeah, we should be able to get it off. I just need to get the charger from Luke, which I think might be tomorrow or the next day. Once I get that, I'll get it charged up and I'll be able to get it to you. And then the people can start seeing stuff.
Then you can
then we're
footage.
going. We're going all in. So
free the footage.
Yeah,
seriously.
I like it.
Yeah.
So until then, it's Instagram only for the people.
Yeah, I like that. Well, that is a great recap, Pink. I mean, you did a good job holding on to that forever because you didn't tell anybody.
I didn't. I really didn't. The only person that I told the full story to is my buddy TJ, who came to Montana.
Yeah, because there was no way you were going to ride all the way to Montana on another hunting trip and not say something.
Well, also I did. I think I told him 90% of the story while I was standing at the bull my dad shot on the mountain because I called him and I was like, "Dude, you ain't gonna believe this shit."
That's awesome. I like it. That's sweet. Well, yeah, a good close. Do you have any tags or anything left then, or you're done, right?
I'm done. I didn't buy any more tags. I mean, there's still seasons open, like here in Minnesota and stuff. I just, at this point, I mean, like, I don't know. I don't need to just like go hunt just to kill something. Like I have so much meat, dude. I'm pretty much done. Like I got no reason to be out there. And plus I honestly really don't like hunting once it gets this cold. I mean, I'm whatever. I guess I'm just a pussy that way, but it's just like, there's so many other seasons and stuff that it's like have already happened and I had a lot of fun. So I just put a pin in it for now. And hopefully watch a few other people knock some down over the next couple of weeks in this, whatever, muzzleloader and archery stuff later in the year. But yeah.
Well, for sure. And then we got, I mean, so now you get to kind of close the page and we flipped the script this weekend heading to St. Paul Ice Show.
It's crazy like that. It's like you're all in for a couple of months on like, dude, all these tags and hunting and planning trips and all this. And now it's like done. And then we're like right into like, oh yeah, the biggest ice fishing expo in the world. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it should be fun. I'm excited. I was talking to Griff earlier today and we were talking about like, I feel like this year's just every year the Chronicles is different because we've done something different basically in November or like knowing how this will pan out. So like after season 1 had it going into November, like we went up to Ottertail and fished and like did stuff, you know. Last year going into St. Paul, we were like, dude, we're not filming for 2 weeks. Like, we're chill. Like we were just hanging out. And now this year it's like, oh, by the way, we've put out like a ton of stuff already and we have a ton more coming already. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's just a completely different vibe. Like everybody else is hyped for it. Mm-hmm. And I am too. But I think it's like we haven't even stepped on ice yet. And I felt like I've ice fished so much. You get what I mean?
You're like, man, I'm glad we're wrapping her down already.
It's just weird for me because like I've been editing all this stuff. So like I feel like I've been ice fishing for a month, but I haven't.
See, I'm like so behind the ball though. Like I mean, obviously we have like a lot of our gear already, but I'm just like, dude, I have nothing ready. You know what I mean? Like
oh no, that's
I still need to build a goddamn Mega Live unit. Like,
and you actually need to build that like ASAP.
I know.
Like I said earlier, I took my boat back today because I need my garage so I can go through tackle and stuff. Like I have nothing ready, so I got to get it ready here in the next day or two. And
I might just be running freaking Walmart bags,
pinner minner, tie it on,
just one lure. That's it. Saw it. We'll just
break it off, and you're like, oh, the season's over. Thanks for watching, guys.
We tried.
But
so I did. Did you guys just get that text from Sam Sobey?
Yeah, that he has a bet with Peric on the Bears Vikings game.
Yeah. It's 9-10.
I know.
And there's 2 minutes left.
There's 2 minutes left. Let's wrap this thing up. I want to watch the end.
Yeah, so do I. I want to
be
watch
a dramatic ending.
Dobbs has thrown 4 picks tonight. So
yeah, he looks terrible. Well, anyways,
we will thank you everybody who's hung with us this long. We got a ton more content coming for you. we'll keep the train rolling. It's been another episode of Pass the Barb. We'll see you guys on the next one.